Hi everyone, welcome to the Franchising Matters video series. My name is Steve Bjors and I'm CEO of Reshift Media. Our topic today is how to build a scalable customer acquisition engine for your franchise. Before we jump into the action, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about who Reshift Media is. We're a digital marketing organization that specializes in franchise companies. We do all things digital marketing, from social media, search, websites, apps, and more. We're also owners and inventors of the Brand Amplifier digital marketing platform. The Brand Amplifier allows franchise organizations to create digital advertising and social content at scale. We're also the owners and inventors of the Franify digital marketing platform, which helps franchise organizations find new franchisees for their organizations. We're also very proud to have been named the world's best franchise marketing firm in 2023, 2024, and 2025 by the Global Franchise Awards. We were named top franchise supplier by Entrepreneur Magazine in 2024, and we were named Marketing Disruptor of the Year in 2024 by the International Business Awards. All right, enough about us. Let's talk about the topic at hand. So, using a standard marketing funnel as an analogy here, we know that customers start with a low level of awareness about your products, services, or even your brand. And then as they are researching what it is that they need, what kind of product or service, they move through the funnel, increase their awareness about their options available, and eventually get to the bottom of the purchase funnel when they make a decision about the product or service they're buying and who they're buying it from. So using that as a quick analogy, what we want to do as a franchise organization is at the top of the purchase funnel, our objective really is to create awareness through outbound marketing. So these are things like social media posting, social media advertising, OTT and display advertising, and even digital audio and podcast through platforms such as Spotify. Then once we've created that awareness, as the person starts to move through the purchase funnel and they're researching products and services, that's where we really want to build trust about our brand and our company, and we want to educate them about what we do. And this is where content marketing is king. So this would be things like social search, influencer marketing, email marketing, and of course your website. So your website content and SEO to get people to your website. Then when they're right at the bottom of the funnel and they're looking to make that final decision, this is where you really want to have a strategy to convert that activity through the funnel into a lead or a sale using local advertising and SEO. So your website here is really critical in terms of making sure that someone looking for that product and service in an area where you operate, they can find you. And then having search engine advertising and social media advertising targeted to people who are at the bottom of the funnel is really, really helpful. So when you're thinking about this for your franchise system, really at the top of the funnel is where your national ad fund comes into play. This is where you're running network-wide campaigns, and your objective really is to maximize reach for the lowest possible cost. Meanwhile, your franchisees are advertising in their local market, so they're applying local geo-targeting, and their objective really is to maximize their sales or their leads, depending on your business model, for the lowest possible cost. Now, what we see a lot of times is that these two efforts aren't well aligned. So the head office is often running advertising with the National Ad Fund, which isn't necessarily connected to whatever the franchisees are doing in their local markets. It's really important that the activities you have at the top of the purchase funnel cascade naturally through to what's happening at the bottom of the funnel from a marketing perspective. This means similar look and feel to your advertising, similar messaging, similar objectives, offers, etc. So it's quite important that you think about your advertising not as two buckets, but rather a continuum as the person passes through the purchase funnel. Now we're going to talk about a lot of these elements through the rest of the conversation today. We can't possibly touch on everything, it's just too much. So we're going to touch on where we see real opportunity for game-changing growth. So a lot of the things that are more straight at it, we're not really going to touch on as much today. It's not to say it's not important. All of these things are, of course. But what we want to talk about today is how you really take it to the next level. So let's start at the top of the purchase funnel with outbound marketing. So obviously the idea with outbound marketing is you want to reach potential customers. As I said, you're looking to maximize your reach for the lowest possible cost. And outbound marketing serves a few goals, obviously. The first one is just raising awareness and brand building about your organization. So for the lowest possible cost, touch as many people as you can and make sure that you're creating that brand awareness and doing some brand building, making them aware about the products and services, and that you're in the area where they live. Now, beyond that, outbound marketing is excellent at identifying prospects that you can then move through the rest of the purchase funnel through retargeting. So if someone reacts to your outbound marketing, that's an indication that they're interested in your product or service or your brand. And then what you can do is you can use retargeting throughout the purchase funnel to move them through that funnel and path them towards choosing your company. Now, this is all outbound marketing 101. You probably know all of that already. What I want to talk about is how you take that concept to the next level. And that's using AI to create personalization. So obviously AI is fundamentally changing how marketing works, but how you use that is critically important. And a lot of companies we talk to are really not sure how they can tackle it, what technologies to use, how they can start to incorporate AI into their marketing strategies. I can tell you right now that the easiest entry point is to actually use the AI that's already built into the platforms you're using. If you're running ads on Google or Meta or TikTok, AI already exists in those platforms, and it's actually quite easy to use. Google has a product called Performance Max. They've been running this for several years now. It incorporates AI and machine learning to create personalization and target ads to people across the whole entire Google network. That's YouTube, Gmail, search, display, etc. Meta has several products. Flexible ad format, Advantage Plus. They have catalog ads. They have just straight added display ads that can be personalized. And TikTok also has dynamic showcase ads. These technologies are getting better and better all the time, and these platforms are continually evolving their product offering. So these are tools that you have at your fingertips already that you can use to create personalization. And the reason we want to use personalization is it's an opportunity to differentiate your advertising and market. So as opposed to just having a generic ad that goes out to people and hopefully they engage, creating or using personalization creates that ability to break through the clutter and create a real level of engagement. And I know a lot of people are like, well, that's kind of creepy. You're using AI to then create ads that are, targeted to specific individuals. Recent studies have shown that people don't actually mind this, when done properly, of course. In fact, 47% of people say that they like receiving personalized deals. 42% say that they're interested in customized product recommendations. And personalized ads have been found to increase trust by 25%. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. Again, as long as you're using personalization in a way that's not too straight at the person and makes them feel uncomfortable. But if it's a product or service that they're actually interested in and it's tailored to them and their needs, there's a natural element of, well, this is convenient and I like that. Let's talk about how you can use these tools. So at its core, it's actually quite easy. The idea, if you're using Google Performance Max or some of the Meta Advantage Plus products, is you basically create multiple copy sets. So in this case, we have 3 sets of copy. Looking for yard care services, would you like a beautiful garden? And we provide landscaping services. And then we also provide multiple images. So in this case, we have 4 different images of people doing different types of landscaping, mowing the lawn, doing the garden, etc. And what you do is you give those elements to the AI. You don't actually build the full ad. You give it the different sets of copy, you give it the different images, you give it your logo and some other elements. And the AI will actually combine these elements in different ways. What's really interesting is a product like Performance Max, as an example. Google will create different types of ads for their different platforms. So it will take your images and your copy, and it will create a display ad, it will create a search ad, it will even create a YouTube ad for you by combining these in different ways and overlaying copy and using your images in different fashions. So not only is it combining the copy and images in a way that makes sense to the person, but it also makes sense to the platform it's being served on. And so then what the AI will do is it will look at the person who's about to receive the ad, and it will use the information it knows about that person to be able to create an ad that makes sense for them. So it will use different sets of copy and images and different combinations, and it will run hundreds of thousands of tests. So it will run your ads and your information in different combinations to see what works for different types of people. And once it figures it out, it's quite good at then giving that right set of copy and image to the right person at the right time. So as an example, let's say that this gentleman here had been on Google, maybe doing some searches about gardening, or maybe had looked at some gardening blogs, etc. Google then says, great, this person's interested in gardening. I'm going to give him the gardening copy set and the gardening image, which makes more sense to him, as a very simple example. And now that ad will resonate better with that person because it's aligned with their interests and what they're looking for. In terms of how you can apply this to your business, our recommendation is to test things. So don't just go all in. Don't just reallocate your entire marketing budget, obviously, but run some tests. So first of all, choose a platform that you're interested in testing on. Google's Performance Max is a very good one. Meta's Advantage Plus is excellent. TikTok also has some products, as I mentioned. But choose one that you want to test on. And then create a variety of ad copy and images for the AI to use. And I really encourage you to stretch yourself a bit here. Choose images that are quite different from each other. So you don't want all your images looking the same. You don't want the same color palette. You don't want the same general gist of images. You actually want to purposely create different ones to give the AI some chance to experiment. Same with the copy. Try a different tone, try different length, include some with emojis, some with not emojis. So really provide some variety so the AI has some opportunity to test. The AI is all based on the optimization metric. So when it's serving ads to people, it's with a goal in mind. So is the goal to get a click? Is the goal to get a click and then have them come to your website and make a purchase? Is it to get a click, come to your website and subscribe to a newsletter? Is it just general reach and engagement? So think about what your optimization metric is. Have that set going in so you know what it is that you're trying to get the AI to do for you. I'll tell you from our experience, we've been running a lot of experiments, and we do find that these types of ads, these personalized ads, are really strong on an outbound methodology to create engagement. From creating direct sales, we are finding that there's still some fine-tuning that needs to be done. So we very much like using this approach with an outbound methodology to drive clicks or awareness, or even, like I said, newsletter subscriptions as an example. And as you're setting your targeting up, don't over-target. So yes, obviously you want to apply some targeting so that the AI is going towards people who fit your target demographic or your target customer base, but don't overdo it. Don't over geo-target or don't overdo the interest-based targeting, because the problem then is you're reducing the size of the pool too small, and the AI doesn't have enough people to test against. So you want to try and have a big pool of people, so that way the AI has a sufficient amount of people to run those simulations on so it can determine what works best. You want to run a campaign at least a couple of months. You will find the first month is probably not going to yield great results. It's really getting into that second month where the AI now has enough information to be able to be more effective. And I can't say this enough. You need to measure what's happening. You need to assess what's happening. You need to adjust. So adjusting your targeting, adjusting your creative based on what you see in real world results. All right, let's start to move a little more down the funnel now. So that's your outbound marketing. Let's start to move into the middle of the funnel. So it's interesting how social media has evolved. So social media is absolutely excellent from an outbound perspective. So if you think back to that purchase funnel I showed you at the start, we had social media in the outbound bucket, which it's excellent at. But it's also becoming more important in the middle and the bottom of the funnel. In the middle of the funnel, people are in fact using social media for discovery. What I mean by that is they're actually using it to find products and services that they're interested in. In fact, a study by eMarketer found that people are using search on social media to research a product before making a purchase. And in fact, 28% of people say that they're very likely to do that. 20% say they're likely, and 19% say they're somewhat likely. Now, a lot of this could be on YouTube, where someone's researching a product or service to learn about it. But we're finding more and more that this is also happening on non-traditional platforms, if I can call it that, such as TikTok as an example. So the fascinating bit of this is it's very much skewed by age. So this is a study by Forbes that looked at what people's preference is for using search based on their age. And if you look over here at 18 to 24, the number one search platform that this age group uses is Instagram. Number two is TikTok. Number 3 is Google search. And Google search in this case actually includes YouTube as well, interestingly. So what's fascinating about that is the 18 to 24-year-olds are searching more on Instagram and TikTok than they are on Google. And if you go one age up to 25 to 34, Google is in fact the number 1 search engine, again, including YouTube. But right on its heels are Facebook and Instagram, interestingly. So again, these are people using Facebook and Instagram, conducting a search for products and services that they're interested in. And even in the 35 to 44-year-old range, Instagram and Facebook aren't that far behind search. Now, once you get over 45, you can see Google is by far the king. But this is very much split by demographics. So for you as a franchise organization, particularly if you skew younger from a customer perspective, you should really be thinking about social media as a search opportunity in addition to it being an outbound opportunity. And for all brands, whether you skew younger or not, as these people age, these habits aren't going to change. So you should be aware and should be planning for the fact that social media is becoming very much a search experience for many people. So what you really want to start to do is apply search thinking to social. So that means, as an example, integrating relevant keywords. So having things like industry terms, product names, and descriptive phrases in captions and hashtags can really help your social content surface in searches. And when I say searches, I don't mean necessarily on Google. I mean someone going to Facebook and doing a search for content, or going to Instagram and doing a search for content. This really helps enhance the ability for someone to find you, find your products and services. Also helps you show up in those Explore or For You pages on social platforms. You want to use descriptive alt text and subtitles. This is a big miss we see with a lot of companies, is where they don't add alt text to their posts. So alt text is information on the photo itself. So every social platform allows you to add alt text. It's a good thing not only from a search perspective, but it's also great from an accessibility perspective, meaning somebody who has visual impairment using the social platform, the alt text is what's read to them if they have trouble actually seeing and consuming that image. So it's a good practice overall, but it's great for search. And if you upload video, make sure you're uploading a transcript, because all those words that you're saying or the person in your video is saying can be indexed by the social media search engine to be able to surface that content in social search. Tagging your location is incredibly powerful. So people are conducting social searches more and more locally. We're going to talk a lot about local search on Google in a few minutes, and I think we all know that that's massive. Think about that as it transitions itself into social. People do use locality as a means of filtering out irrelevant information. So using tagging within social platforms is a great way to make sure that your content is surfaced for those local searches happening on social media. And something as simple as enhancing your profile bio with some keywords. So the profile section is a real opportunity for optimizing for social search. So just include some relevant keywords in your business name, description, to help your business page overall have a chance to appear in social search. Another big piece of building trust in the middle of that purchase funnel is having other people saying good things about you. So as I always say, the only thing better than saying good things about yourself is other people saying good things about you. And influencer marketing is absolutely the king at this. So it's a great way to get trusted people who have a following talking about your brand and your products and services. It really helps you create that social proof so you can increase your brand awareness and reach, find those markets of potential opportunity, build that brand trust we're talking about, educate customers about your brand and your offering, and really just grow online strength. And by the way, it's an excellent way for social search. So if an influencer does a product review or a service review and someone's searching for a product or service that fits their needs, they can find that influencer content. And because it's not necessarily on your page, builds real trust. Great opportunity to be able to break through the noise. And when you're thinking of influencers, there's a real trend away from the macro influencers, so the millions of followers type of influencer. And really, people are going towards micro and nano. Nano influencers have audiences between like 1,000 and 10,000 followers. So by social media standards, that's very small. But the reason that there's a real trend towards nano is because the engagement levels are so much higher. So although yes, an influencer with 1 million plus followers, that's great. You can have them do a post that potentially could reach a lot of people quickly. They tend to get much lower engagement because by definition, typically aren't big in a certain sector or area. Whereas nano influencers tend to focus. Maybe they're on home improvement or maybe they're on baking or whatever it is, but they typically have an area of focus. And what that means is they tend to have higher engagement rates. So their followers are more likely to comment, like, and share the content because they feel that personal connection. And what we've had great success doing is actually converting your existing customers into influencers. So these are people who might not even be influencers per se, but just happen to have a good sized following. And what we do is we actually look at your social followers to find these people. So we're looking for people who have, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 followers, typically within the geo area of where your locations are. And they've already bought your products and services. So they already know about your company. They already have a legitimate affinity for your brand. And the best part is a lot of times they're much lower cost because they're not professional influencers. And a lot of times they'll do influencer marketing in exchange for products or services. So this is a great way to, instead of thinking about working with one big influencer, think of working with dozens of small influencers. And what you're doing now is you're creating real, legitimate, local content that has an opportunity not only for social search, but works in the middle of that purchase funnel from a trust building perspective. Now, as we move towards the bottom of the funnel, we have to talk about generative AI because the bottom of the funnel, big piece of it is search engine optimization. And search engine optimization is being fundamentally changed by AI. So let's talk about something called AI overviews. So you would have all seen this. So this is a real search, by the way. We searched who's the world's best franchise marketing firm, and here it is. It's Reshift Media, of course. But the reason to show this to you is to show you what an AI overview looks like. So we asked a question of the AI. It gives us the answer. Now, it does have these citations over here. It has our website and Newswire as sources. So there is a citation and a potential click-through. But this has been called a zero-click search because the challenge here for companies is Google's just given me the answer. I don't have to click through. I don't have to go to the website to see more information. So all that content marketing that companies have been doing now won't necessarily drive clicks. It will drive awareness, and it is important that you're optimizing for these types of searches. But the challenge, obviously, is that there's no place for the person to click through to. So the thing about this type of search is, yes, it's still good to optimize for, and I will talk about how we optimize to get some clicks still, but it's really important now that you realize that going forward, this is the answer that Google's going to give. So the days of there being 3, 4, 5 results, and if you can get in the top 3, you're doing pretty good. Those are going the way of the dodo because now it's one answer. And Google will combine different sources to give you that answer, but it's so important that you're part of that and that your brand is in there, or at least you get the citation on the top right, because that's how you're going to get surfaced for relevant searches. So some of the strategies you want to do here. So the AI overview I just showed you, Google calls that their search generative experience. So to optimize for this, right out of the gate, you want to stick to the fundamentals. So Google has stated that search generative experience is rooted in their core search and ranking quality systems. And from our experience, all indications are that sites who have strong SEO fundamentals do actually quite well in AI overviews. So stick to the fundamentals. Make sure that you're creating great content. Make sure you have good website structure because that still is really important showing up for AI type searches. You want to make sure that Google understands who your business is. So what's really interesting about AI is that Google is using citations from around the internet. So Google's long used backlinks, as we all know, as a ranking signal. But what they're also doing now is just brand mentions around the internet. So Someone doesn't even need to necessarily backlink to you. If they mention the name of your brand, Google's using that as a positive ranking signal. So it's so important that when Google finds that brand around the internet, that it knows who that is. So it's super important that your Google business profiles are up to date. That means one for every single location you have. And it's really important that you have a proper about page on your website and that everything's linked together. So Google knows for a fact that Reshift Media is this company over here with this website. Structured data is more important than ever. You might have heard this called schema markup, but basically structured data is information put into your website for the search engine to be able to understand it better. So let me give you an example. So here's a client of ours called Metal Supermarkets. You can see over here on the right, we got this nice little location card, has the name of the location, in this case, Scarborough, has the address, has the phone number, has the hours. So when Google crawls this page, it will probably figure all that out. It will probably figure out this is the address and this is the phone number because we've purposely structured this page in a way to make it easily crawlable. But just to make sure, we've actually applied schema markup or structured data in the background. So this is the code for this specific page. And you can see at the top, we've told Google, hey, here's our schema markup. The type of business this is a local business. The name of it is Scarborough. Here's its street address. Here's its city. Here's its region. Here's its postal code. Here's its country. And we've even gone so far as to say, here's the exact lat and long where this business exists. So Google can have absolutely no misunderstanding as to where exactly this business is. And in fact, here's the exact telephone number and here's the hours of operation. So although, yes, crawling the page, it probably would have figured that out, we've eliminated all doubt here. And this is just one example. It's actually quite an easy example for the local business markup. There are literally hundreds of different markups for products and services and businesses that you can apply to make sure that Google has a extremely clear understanding of all of the information you're giving it. And the purpose here is to eliminate any doubt. So if someone's doing a near me search or a in Scarborough search, Google is 100% confident that this business is in Scarborough and in fact knows exactly the lat and long where it exists. So at that level of confidence, you're more likely to be surfaced for those type of searches. And this also goes for all of your services and all your products and all of your content if you're writing a blog, making sure that you're applying the right structured data. So that way for all of those AI overviews, Google can find that pertinent information and surface it. The other thing to focus on is called EEAT signals. That stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So Google's long stated that trustworthiness and quality of content are key ranking signals. So you want to incorporate those into your website. So these are things like certifications, awards, years of experience. When you're writing your content, you want to have an active tone instead of a passive one. And if you have subject matter experts in your firm, highlight them. So give them a byline and link to them other work they've done, just to highlight that you have experts providing great content to up that trustworthiness factor. Now, the other piece I want to talk about in the area of AI is voice search. So voice search has been around for some time. It's nothing new. But with the adoption of smart speakers in people's homes, that's your Google Home and obviously Alexa and Siri in smart speakers in the home, but even just the leaps that AI has taken in making voice search more effective, it's really taken off. So you probably see, particularly people under 30, they talk to their phones as opposed to searching, right? So instead of using their thumbs, they're talking to their phones. And in fact, a study by PricewaterhouseCoopers found that 65% of 25 to 49-year-olds speak to their voice-enabled devices at least once a day, and 74% of people use voice search on their smartphone to find information on local businesses at least weekly. And that's probably finding hours of operation or mapping it, finding its location, etc. But the point is that people are absolutely using their voice as a search mechanism. And what's fascinating about this is that it's brought what we used to call the long tail back. So if you have a little bit of gray hair like me, you might remember some time ago, we used to talk about the long tail all the time. Books were written about it. And that was when we used to type our searches into Google on a keyboard. And people would type quite a long search. And then search moved into the phone, where people weren't searching nearly on desktops as much anymore. And so people were searching by typing like this with their thumbs. And so the long tail kind of disappeared because typing with your thumbs is inconvenient. So searches got really short, where you're searching things like pizza near me, as you see on the graph here. Well, with people using voice search and holding their phone up to talk to it, the long tail is not only back, but I've been calling this the super long tail, because people tend to talk a lot, as evidenced by this webinar you're watching right now. But people tend to talk a lot. And so you're getting not only long tail searches, but really long tail searches. And what's interesting about that is, although the search volume around some of these super long tail searches is quite low, the likelihood of conversion is much higher. So that's what this chart on the right shows us, is if someone searches something like pizza near me, that's got massive search volume. But the likelihood of that person turning into a customer for you is quite low, because they aren't necessarily saying what type of pizza they're interested in. They're probably going to get a lot of results for that search. So your likelihood of getting a customer out of that, although it's a very high volume search, is much lower. Well, as the search gets more faceted, so instead of pizza near me, it's now best hand-tossed pizza places nearby, or where can I find pizza with spicy sauce around here, or even something really long tail, which pizza places near me have great hand-tossed pizza with spicy tomato sauce. That is a extremely low volume search, but if you show up for that search in an AI overview, you're almost certainly getting that customer. So the idea here is to be able to optimize for those super long tail searches, because although each one is small, in aggregate, it's a huge amount of volume, and the conversion rate is so high that it really makes sense to be able to get new customers through that approach. And so what you want to do from a voice search optimization perspective is start to think about conversational language in your content. So voice searches are longer, and they tend to use very simple language. So take out some of the more complex terms in your content and simplify. And think about how people actually talk. Incorporate phrase-based information into your content. The other thing is structured data, again, as we've already talked about. Making sure that Google knows exactly where your business is from a local business schema markup is big, but also making sure things like hours of operation, in this case, I was looking for hand-tossed and spicy sauce. That's markup for your products. You can apply that as aspects of your product, so Google knows, yes, this place actually has spicy tomato sauce. And prioritize local SEO. So a lot of voice searches are local, as I just showed you a minute ago. So optimizing for local voice searches really helps you optimize for voice searches in general. I'm a huge fan of real examples. So let's do a real example. So let's say somebody does a search for what pizza places have great hand-tossed pizza with spicy tomato sauce. So fairly long tail. And this is a real result I got. I did this actual search. I happen to live in an area called Whitby in Ontario. And this is the real result I got. For hand-tossed pizza with spicy tomato sauce in Whitby, consider Pizza Hut and Domino's. So that is an excellent result for Pizza Hut and Domino's. They're mentioned by name. So the opportunity for conversion there is extremely high. Now, what happens if I change that search ever so slightly? What if instead the search was, where can I get a great hand-tossed pizza with spicy tomato sauce near me? So I've changed the intention here a little bit, right? Instead of just saying, who has this? I said, where can I get? And again, this is the real result. And you can see that AI overview is gone. It's now giving me places. And the results are very different. So you notice Pizza Hut and Domino's aren't actually here. It's 3 different results. What's interesting about this is when you add that intent for localization, for locality, to where I'm buying it near me, AI overviews tend not to show up nearly as frequently. I'm not saying they don't show up. I've personally seen this, and they certainly do in some cases. But it's less likely because what Google says is, okay, this person's looking for a very specific place. And so now it's showing those opportunities to buy. And this is a great opportunity for clicks. So the AI overview is the 0-click sort of thing where it just told me it's Pizza Hut and Domino's. Whereas in this case, I'm going to click to find out more information. And that's where a real secret lies for franchise organizations. The franchise structure is absolutely perfectly built for local searches. So franchise organizations have a way or have an opportunity to index for local search in a way no other company can, because by definition you have entrepreneurs in different areas with brick or mortar or not. It could be just a territory-based system, but you have a foothold in all of these localities, and you have the power of an overall network. So you're able to compete against mom and pops in your markets because you have scale, but you're also able to compete against multinationals who maybe don't have localization in a way no one else can. And so there's lots of stuff in terms of how franchise organizations can optimize for local search. But I want to touch on just a couple. We only have time for a little bit today, but a couple of things. Before I get into that, let's talk about why local search is so important. First of all, AI overviews show up less frequently, as I already said. Local searches have very high volume. In fact, it's one of the few categories of search that continues to grow at more than 100% year over year. What I love about it is you're only competing against other businesses in that area. So if you have a strong national or international competitor, as soon as someone adds that locality to their search, you're not necessarily competing against them on a macro scale. You're competing against them in that city or neighborhood. So your opportunity to rank is much higher because the number of companies you're competing against is much smaller. And probably the most important one is that local searches have strong purchase intent. As soon as someone says, I'm looking for something near me or in my neighborhood or in my city, they've already decided they need it. They're now just looking for where can I get it. So the main thing you want to start to think about is structuring everything as local first. Your content, your social media, but most importantly, your website. So a lot of companies, when they're thinking about their website, they think about it from the national website first. So in this case, I've called it yourwebsite.com here. So most organizations think of that national site. And when we start to build a new website for franchise organizations, almost always they want to start talking about the homepage. What do I want on the homepage? What's the content from the homepage, et cetera, et cetera. When really the right place to start is the local website. So this can be a single page if that's all you have the content for. But ideally, this is actually a true microsite, meaning multiple pages for each location. And it's really important where this is in your structure. So you notice here, what I have is yourwebsite.com/Springfield, yourwebsite.com/Riverdale. That's called a subfolder structure, meaning that your local microsites are actually part of your overall national website. This is very different than having a URL like riverdalewebsite.com or riverdale.yourwebsite.com. Both of those are considered websites on their own URLs. Even the subdomain, riverdale.yourwebsite.com, is considered a separate website in Google's eyes. And all that means is you're going to be competing for search authority. And the whole structure starts to fall apart very quickly. You very, very, very much want to include your local microsites as part of your main website, because then you can create a proper search structure where your national website absolutely is important. It needs to include core pages about your company, your products, your services. Usually you're going to have a great company blog, ideally a good FAQ as well to help rank for various terms. And the idea of your national website is to provide overall search authority for your network. So you want to rank for your core products and services, and of course the brand. But the job of your local microsites is to include all that great local information I've been talking about. Address, phone number, cross streets, neighborhood, the city. Ideally, you've got some local content in there about your team. If you can create a local blog, that's tremendous. You can incorporate local structured data and other pertinent schema markups. And the idea is that these websites provide your local search authority and they act as your main entry point for new visitors. you want them to rank for their local terms. So in this case, Springfield or Riverdale. And the whole idea is you want someone to enter your network at your local microsite, not your national homepage. If they enter at the homepage, of course, that's going to happen, or your national services pages, of course. But the idea is if they can enter at your local microsite, their likelihood of converting to a customer is much, much, much higher because they already know where the location is. They can learn about it. They can maybe read about the local team, and all the conversion is right there. Hey, contact this local business to be able to become a customer. Versus if I come into the national website, I have to find my way to my local microsite to assure myself that there is in fact a location near me and that it has the products and services I require. So your conversion opportunity at the local microsite is much, much, much higher. And when you're thinking about your Google business profile, these are incredibly important. You need a Google business profile for every single location. And you need to make sure it's optimized. So make sure that it has the right information about your business. Make sure that it has all your hours, phone number. Make sure it has your products and services. You have the right categories on there, photos about your local business, etc. Really make sure that those local listings are optimized to the greatest extent possible. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that they link to your local microsites. So we see this all the time with franchise organizations where I go to the Riverdale Google My Business profile and it links to the homepage. So it links to yourwebsite.com. It should not. It should absolutely link to yourwebsite.com/Riverdale. Because what that does is it gives Google a one-to-one matching. Here's the Google business profile, here's the corresponding microsite, and make sure that your hours match and the name matches and the address matches, because then again, you're providing the search engine with a lot of confidence that it knows exactly the products and services you have, what hours you're open, and exactly where that location is. And I'll touch quickly on your franchise site. So this is, where your prospective franchisees are looking at information to maybe buy into your system. We see so frequently that the franchise website is its own thing. So yourfranchisewebsite.com or franchise.yourwebsite.com, both of those, again, are considered a completely distinct website in Google's eyes. And the search authority is now split between your main website and your franchise website. And they both want to rank for the same things. They want to rank for your brand. They want to rank for your products and services. They want to rank for your locations. And so all you're doing is you're fighting yourself. And what happens then is your competitors can come right up the middle and outrank you for key terms. You want to do the same thing with your franchise website that you do with your local ones, where nest your franchise website within your overall website. It can have a totally different look and feel, have its own theme, have its own content, have its own navigation. All of that's fine. But it needs to be yourwebsite.com/franchising. Really important, because now what's happening is all those good search terms are working together. Your national website, its job is still rank for the brand, rank for core products and services. And now your franchise website is looking to rank for franchise specific terms. So pizza franchise is an example. And you want to make sure that you have a blog or FAQ that includes information about your franchise system and the opportunity. And obviously the idea here is, done well, any people looking for a franchise opportunity coming to that franchise microsite. Same thing, you don't want them coming into your national website and kind of hunting and pecking around. Optimize it in such a way where when I search, franchise opportunity, Reshift Media, boom, I end up at the franchise website. We've talked about the structure, but the content is really important here. So you can have the best structured website on the planet, but if the content isn't done properly, then it doesn't really matter. And the number one thing I would say here is make sure your content is planned. We work with a lot of franchise systems where they're just spewing out content and there's no rhyme or reason. It's just they're putting it on the page just to put it on the page. Make sure all of your content is created based on strong SEO principles. And that's everything. That's your website copy, that's your blogs, your FAQ, even your social media content. So that way, when you're creating that social content, if you're thinking about search, it has all those great search terms in there like we talked about. Make sure you're putting alt text and transcripts in all of your images and video. You want to make sure that you're researching the terms you're actually interested in. I'm not talking about keyword stuffing here, but more to the point, being aware of here are the areas of opportunity. Here are the things that people search. Here are the terms that our competitors are ranking for or targeting. And trying to make sure that you structure your content in a way that appeals to those areas. And write it in a fashion, as I've talked about throughout this presentation, that works for AI and voice search. So structure your content with simple language, phrase-based answers, to make sure that you have that opportunity to rank for AI overviews and all that nice voice search we talked about. And it's so important that you create content on an ongoing basis. Recency is a huge factor in Google's ranking algorithm. So if you put out a great website with great content, you'll spike your rankings, which is amazing. You'll spike your traffic, you'll get more customers. But then if you stop, eventually Google says, well, there's nothing new for me here. And so your ranking goes down, your trust goes down, and you'll see a drop off in terms of performance. So make sure you keep creating great content, great blogs, great FAQs, whatever it happens to be. So let's kind of start to boil this down. So on the left is an AI overview search. What are the types of bronze alloys? You can see our client metal supermarkets ranks really well for this. On the right is a classic local search, coffee shops near me. And you can see the results are very different. On the left, I get the AI overview. On the right, I get a local search. So let's start with the AI overview. What triggers this type of result are informational-based queries. So questions, problem solving, long tail searches, things like what is, or how does blank work, or how to, or what are. So question-based searches are what trigger this AI overview. And this is where your blog and your FAQ really sing. So you want to create blog content and FAQ content that directly addresses these types of queries, where when someone searches, you get in the AI overview and you get that top citation just like you see here. On the right, the type of queries that drive this sort of result are where people are explicitly including local keywords. So restaurants in Springfield. But even then, they don't necessarily need to put the word in Springfield. It could be implicit, like coffee shops near me. If they include your brand in there, great, like Tim Hortons in Springfield. Or maybe there's some sort of service and local combination, like water heater repair in Springfield. And Google's actually very good even at interpreting when they think you want something local, even if you haven't said it. Like Thai restaurant or emergency plumber will trigger a local result, even if you haven't said near me or even if you haven't put the locality. And this is really where your local content, so having those great local microsites, having great structured data on those local microsites and your Google business profiles, that's where those sing. So the thing you want to think about from an optimization perspective and really doing well at the bottom of that purchase funnel from a search engine optimization perspective is different pieces of your website can help you optimize for different searches. So your blog and your FAQ, those should be geared towards AI overview type of searches. And those are really important, again, because we're moving towards a one answer to question sort of methodology. So you want to be able to rank for those. And at the same time, you want to be able to drive traffic. So ranking for those local searches is so important to be able to make sure that you're closing that deal when someone's ready to buy. And that's where your local microsites come into play, structured data, and your Google business profiles. Now, the thing is, we've talked about local search, but local is actually a key element towards closing transactions in general, whether that's an online purchase or someone coming to your location and buying, or someone becoming a lead where they fill in a lead form or call your location. Local is where you can really create a competitive advantage for yourself. And so localized advertising is a key opportunity. So let me give you a real example. So let's say this is an ad that you serve. Looking for yard services, contact Reshift Yard Services today. Not localized, not terribly specific. You've all run ads just like this. And yes, you can absolutely get them to work, but they're very generic and they don't break through. They don't create any real impact. They're more just giving people general information. Here's the ad that we created earlier using the AI, right? Remember, we talked about using AI to create personalization. So if the person receiving this ad is interested in gardening, we've now personalized the ad by saying, hey, would you like a beautiful garden? Contact Reshift Yard Services for your gardening needs. And it's got the beautiful gardening photo that we saw before. So this is already better, right? We've now personalized. That ad is definitely going to perform better than your first ad. What if we took this to the next level where not only is it personalized to gardening, but it's personalized based on where the person is? So we've been making Hamilton gardens beautiful since 1987. Contact Gary at Reshift of Hamilton by calling 905-555, blah, blah, blah. And he's standing in front of a beautiful garden. So this is combining the personalization aspects built right into the platform with localization, where now we're passing in that this person's actually in Hamilton, therefore we want to give them a Hamilton ad. And I can tell you from our experience where we've been running a ton of these types of ads, if you include localization in this fashion, you increase the ad performance by more than 500%. And it makes sense, right? If I live in Hamilton and I'm looking for some gardening help, I'm definitely going to have more affinity for an ad that is very specific to me and specific to my geography versus a generic ad you see on the left. And it doesn't need to be that hard. So we do see franchise organizations where they are literally using Google Sheets to try and create all these ads manually, where they are hand typing in all this content and they're creating all these ads and they have hundreds of different campaigns running for all these locations. You're going to make yourself crazy. Use automation for this. So you are literally just passing in key information. And I've shown you how this can work here. You can serve that ad from a local page, all programmatic. We've been making blank gardens beautiful since blank. Contact blank, at Reshift of blank by calling phone number. Just pass information in programmatically. Machine learning does this for you. Actually, this is even a simple automation. Then you combine that with the AI to create the ad that you saw. So you can use automation to achieve this. And it doesn't just, it's not just something you do for Meta. This is excellent for search. So here's an example of a real Google search we did for yard care services. Now, we've subbed in an example here for Reshift, but what's interesting is when we searched yard care services, up came an AI overview. So Google has already figured out, based on that interpretation, that I'm looking for yard care services in Hamilton in this case. And so I got the AI overview, but we did buy an ad, let's say. This is mocked up. But so for Reshift Yard Services, so award-winning yard work, yard care services, providing expert lawn care services you can trust. So this is a fine ad, nothing wrong with it. But which one do you think will perform better? The one on the left or the one on the right where it says top-rated Hamilton yard care serving Hamilton since 1987? Gary and his team of professionals would love to help you create your dream yard. So same idea, someone searches yard care services, Google knows that the person's in Hamilton. Why not give them a personalized result based on their geography? And again, I can tell you that the ad on the right, 500% or better improvement, simply because I know for a fact that these services are in Hamilton. And it doesn't end with just the copy. Interestingly, with Google, obviously we can just sub in the terms as we talked about with Meta, but the keywords are so powerful here. So yes, you can absolutely bid on something generic like yard care across a bunch of geographies, and you can trigger this ad. That will absolutely work. However, if you were to bid on yard care in Hamilton, your cost actually is lower because Google applies a higher quality score to your ad because you're now bidding on specifically Hamilton. Google's interpreted that this person wants a Hamilton result. Therefore, it sees your ad as a higher quality, and you can actually serve that ad for a lower cost. Your cost per click is actually lower. So you're now able to get an unfair advantage simply by the fact that you've gone to the trouble of targeting Hamilton, not just as a geography, but in your actual keywords. So now I can target lawn care Hamilton, landscaping in Hamilton, yard maintenance in Hamilton. And why stop there? Why not target specific neighborhoods or target specific areas? If there's a generic area term that applies, you can come up with hundreds of different combinations and permutations where you're able to apply geography right to the keywords themselves to lower your cost and increase your click-through rate and therefore increase your opportunity for conversion. And again, this is all done through automation. You don't have to create dozens of different campaigns and type in all these terms manually. You can use this to create an advantage for your franchise system. And it's really important also to think about where these ads click through to, whether it's on Meta or TikTok or Google. If you click them through to just a generic page, hey, we take care of your yard, find your nearest location. Again, we've all done this. It's very standard in franchising. We send them to a single page, find your location and convert. You're asking that person to do all the work. And again, if I click the ad, am I in the right place? Do I know that you operate in Hamilton? Do I know that you do what I want you to do? Instead, click them through to a local experience. So in this landing page, we've said, hey, we're a reshift of Hamilton. We're serving the Hamilton community since 1987. And by the way, here's some reviews for that Hamilton location. So right away, I know exactly where the location is. I know that they operate in my community. I feel better already. And I don't have to go hunting because I know this is a Hamilton location. I can call or text Gary right away. There's a nice button there. Or I can fill in the form to get an estimate. I don't have to hunt around. I'm not doing the work. It's all been positioned for me to make conversion as easy as possible. And again, the page on the right will convert at a much, much higher percentage than the page on the left, simply because it's more relevant, it's more personalized, and it's easier because I can convert with a one click. So our summary, you want to think about a full funnel marketing strategy. So we couldn't touch on every single thing throughout the funnel, but we did start with outbound marketing and how you sort of create that impression and that brand awareness. And then moving into the middle, how are you starting to use content and trust to be able to create that affinity with your brand and your products and services. And then right at the bottom of the funnel, we spend a lot of time talking about localized SEO, localized advertising. And that's really what I kind of want to leave you with here is think about how you take that general purchase funnel and take it to the next level. So how you personalize your outbound marketing, how social is no longer just an outbound mechanism for you, but an inbound mechanism. How you can build trust using nano influencers, low cost opportunity to create big impact within your geographies by having other people talking about your brand and your products and services. And I can't say this enough. AI-powered search and voice search is absolutely changing the industry at the most fundamental levels. It is happening. It's happening right now. And if you as a franchise system are not taking the necessary steps to rank for AI overviews and to rank for local searches and rank for voice searches, you are absolutely going to be left in the dust by this time next year. You have to be working on this right now. Local search is so important. Think about how you incorporate that. Think about how you can still get those clicks. Localized advertising. This is how you're going to supercharge your ad performance. Get your franchisees involved. Get them running localized ads, but use automation to make it easy. And then close the deal with a great landing page. Don't lose the lead or the sale at the last second by giving them a generic landing page. Give them a local opportunity with local information, with local conversion to really help close that deal. I hope you've enjoyed today's presentation. If you like, you can scan the QR code there to download a free copy. We will also put a link down below so you can download it directly from there. And as our free gift to you for watching this far into the video, you can also download a free copy of our 2025 Digital Trends Report. QR code's there. We will include a link to the below as well. If you ever want to contact me personally, love to hear from you. My phone number, my email are right there on the screen. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you listening, and hopefully you can apply some of these concepts to your franchise business. Have a great day.